Steph Curry was asked about Patrick Mahomes on the Huddle and Flow podcast, and here's what he had to say. Quote, see a lot of myself in him. Obviously, there's been a lot of comparisons, just that creativity. You can't blink or you'll miss something special. I just love his confidence when he knows that at any point he can do something special. Stephen A., what do you think? Is Steph Curry the closest comparison to Patrick Mahomes?
I believe he is. And again, you know exactly where I'm going with this. His three-point shooting. Steph Curry is a gunslinger. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter man has ever seen. There is no one. And remember, I go back to the days of watching folks from JoJo White to downtown Freddie Brown when Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson were in the backcourt with the Seattle Supersonics to Dale Ellis, to Dale Curry, to Ricky Pierce, Allen Houston, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller. And the list just goes on and on and on. I have never seen a shooter in my life greater than Steph Curry. You've seen guys that could spot up and shoot like Steph Curry. But moving without the basketball, you've seen that. But dribbling the basketball, creating your own space off the dribble, shooting from the corner, the wing, the key, 10, 20, 30, 40. I've seen him hit 50-footers. This dude ends shoot-arounds and practices and warm-ups, pre-games, shooting from the stands. This dude is the greatest shooter I have ever seen in my life. And I'm telling you right now, Max Kellerman, I will remind you, we love Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard big time. You know that, I know that. And we raved about him last year when he was shooting 40% from three-point range for the first time in his career. I got Steph Curry's career numbers in here. In his entire career, the only time he didn't shoot better than 40% from three-point range. I repeat, the only time he did not shoot better than 40% from three-point range was last year when he only played in 5 games because of his injuries. That's it. Other than that, every single season that Steph Curry has played in the NBA, now spanning over a decade, he has shot better than 40% from three-point range. The dude knows no limits. So when we talk about Patrick Mahomes being a gunslinger, having Tyreek and Travis Kelce and all of these boys, in basketball, you can have those other people. But with or without any of those people, Steph Curry's game is his game. He's a sniper, a marksman, the likes of which mankind has never seen. And I say to you, if you're going to say what you said about Patrick Mahomes, my response is if he watches basketball, I know where the hell he got it from. This dude.
Well, stylistically, let me just start by saying before I tell you my answer, the actual answer to this, stylistically, I understand what you're saying. I mean, we all know Steph can shoot the lights out. He's the best shooter of all time. I don't think anyone really disputes that. To me, what's interesting about Steph that parallels Mahomes is his imagination. Bill James wrote this about Babe Ruth once upon a time. It wasn't that they made the balls different and he started hitting home runs. Babe Ruth came around and said, I'm not supposed to. No one else was swinging for the fences. You weren't supposed to. He said, no, I can swing for the fences. I'm good. I could reach that mark. And started swinging for the fences and out-homered every American League club in 1927, right? And then guys came along who could approximate what Ruth did because they started imitating him, like Damian Lillard's imitating Steph Curry. So I get that. Mahomes has the kind of imagination that Steph has, that Babe Ruth once had. You say, I can't do this? Watch this. And he does seemingly the impossible. But he's not the answer to the closest thing to Mahomes in the NBA. The answer is very obvious. The closest thing to Mahomes in the NBA is LeBron James. LeBron James, by himself, when you have LeBron, you're expecting to play in the big game. You have LeBron, you expect to make a deep postseason run. Now, he can't always deliver you the championship. Depends what's around him. He had plenty of help. The way Mahomes had plenty of help, LeBron had plenty of help in Cleveland when he took a team with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. And they had nice rotation pieces on that team too. To the finals against a very strong Warriors team. And then what happened? His two guys, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, because of injury, were unable to play. And we saw LeBron drag them to a Game 6 with Dellavedova as his second-best player. We saw LeBron James do that. And we recognize, yeah, they came up short because no one could do it by themselves. But damn, if you start the season with LeBron, you're expecting big things. Mahomes is that way. 3 years as a starter, 1 AFC championship appearance, pre-snap penalty, not on him, that's the defense, hands Tom Brady the ball, they never get it back. Mahomes never gets to touch it in overtime. Next year, they win the Super Bowl. This year, they get to the Super Bowl, and what happened? Kyrie and Kevin Love weren't there for LeBron. Both tackles out for Mahomes. Pressured 29 times on 56 dropbacks. And yet, you talk about him parallel to the ground. Stephen A., we saw that man throw 3 passes into the end zone, 2 hit receivers in the face, 1 in the hands. He can't block, throw, catch. He can't do everything. By the way, he did run some, and that's with turf toe that needs surgery now. Like LeBron, you start the season with Patrick Mahomes, you think you're going deep into the playoffs, probably the Super Bowl. LeBron is the closest comparison.
First of all, I could easily say that about Aaron Rodgers, number one. Number two, when you talk about LeBron James dragging them to a Game 6 without Kyrie and without Kevin Love, because Kevin Love was out and Kyrie Irving went down in Game 1 of that series, we're certainly not going to accuse Mahomes of dragging them anywhere. They got dragged. That's what happened to Mahomes this past weekend. They got stomped, all right? So let's be very, very clear about that. It wasn't his fault, but they got stomped. They got stomped. Number 3, again, when I think about LeBron James and you talk about him, I think a more worthy comparison would be that he's clearly the quarterback of any basketball team that he's playing for, because he basically controls it because he's a point forward. But I just think about the things that are said about Mahomes, particularly by people like you, not just his velocity, his arm strength, his accuracy, his gutsiness, his moxie, all of those things. That's Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry's got all of that and then some with his basketball game that he puts on display on a night-in, night-out basis. Plus, like Mahomes, he's a sniper. And even though LeBron James has improved dramatically with his three-point shooting, not the last 2 games where he's shooting 5 of 19 from threes, but over the course of the season, he's improved his three-point shooting. He ain't no sniper the way Steph Curry is.
All right, fellas, love you a long time, but we're blowing through stop signs here. When we come back here on First Take, today is the anniversary of Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. Find out if it's the greatest upset in sports history. Max, what else you got?
Still to come on First Take, I'll tell you why Buster Douglas beating Mike